All right, for the writing course today, we will examine media writing, but today's writing will focus on news. So we have the conceptualization of news. What exactly is news? Based on several definitions by different authors in the field. The determinant of news, or you can call it the criteria for news selection. How do you know something is newsworthy, or how do you know an event or an occurrence is newsworthy? Then what are the rudiments of news? Those rudiments also will help you to identify what could be referred to as newsworthy. Then structure in terms of formatting your news report or article. So understanding news, before we dive into the concept, it has to be current, it has to affect the lives of so many people, and it is written in the form of a report, and it must actually also be of public interest. That is, it has the ability to draw the attention of the public, and it must be accurate in terms of the information provided. It must be truthful, it must be correct, it must be accurate, it must not be identified with any form of manipulation or deception. So, news has to be accurate in terms of the facts and information provided. So let's look at a few definitions of what news is according to other authors. We have the British Journal, which says it's an event, idea, or opinion that is timely, that interests or affects a large number of people in a community, and also it's capable of being understood by them. This is where the element of simplicity comes in when we talk about news writing. Another conceptual definition by two other authors, that's Carol Warren and William Stead. So for Carol, news is usually a report which is not known to layman before its presentation. This report deals with such activities of man as are a source of interest, entertainment, or information to the readers. And then we have the last definition we're going to look at, which is by William Stead. It says, everything which is extraordinary and unusual is called news. So there are 20 categories of what makes news, according to Thomson Foundation. It has to be novelty, it has to have some form of personal impact, local news, money, anything that has to do with money, crime, conflict, which could be in most cases between countries, and also religion. Disaster and tragedy also makes for news. Something humorous, human interest, the underdog, mysterious things, anything that has to do with health, science, entertainment, anything that also has to do with prominent people, prominent personality, anything that has to do with the weather condition, food, minorities, and sex. Remember that food is for the purpose of survival. So anything surrounding the discussion on food could also be considered as newsworthy, depending on what the story is about. Determinant of news and criteria for news selection. What are the things you need to take note of before you can say this event or this occurrence is newsworthy? Timeliness, that means it has to be something happening at that particular time. Anything referred to as news cannot be stale. It cannot be old information. It has to be current information or current happening. Proximity. Now, proximity is determined based on where the event has happened or is happening and who it is affecting. So it depends on the news media organization that is serving a particular community. So proximity will be determined by the community in which the media organization serves. But there's also something we call emotional proximity. That means what is happening is not necessarily happening close to you in terms of location, but because of the people it's happening to, you're somehow connected to them. It could affect you. For instance, if you are a Nigerian and something is happening to Nigerians abroad, that could be referred to as proximity as well. Although you are in Nigeria here, but because you have some form of connection as a Nigerian yourself, and that event is happening abroad, it could also be of important or significant, it could be significant to you as well because you are also a Nigerian. Prominence. Okay, now when you are someone that is of public figure, stories about you or anything that happens to you will be important, positive or negative. It will be important. So if you are of a prominent personality in the society or in a particular environment or community, whatever happens around you, that's why I have paparazzi, following prominent personality around, because they believe that it is newsworthy. Anything that happens to them is newsworthy. Consequences refers to the impact of a particular occurrence. So if it affects a large number of people in terms of number, or it affects significant persons in the society, or whatever has happened impacts a lot of people in the society or the public, then such events will be seen as newsworthy. Human interest, oddity. Oddity are things that don't usually happen. They're not seen as natural when it comes to human beings. So anything that is oddity, anything that is unusual, like unbelievable, is seen as news because they attract a lot of attention and they are seen as human interest. Conflict also is of human interest, and anything that drives our emotions as human beings can be referred to as of human interest and therefore seen as newsworthy. So let's look at the rudiments of news. And when I say rudiment, I mean the rules that guides for news writing, the rules you have to abide by, the rules you have to know and understand and take into consideration every single time you write as a journalist, or every time you write or you want to report a story. Now, accuracy. Writing for the mass media is about presenting facts that you can verify, facts that this is true, and you can always stand by that truth and defend that truth and justify such truths. So every information you provide in terms of quotations by someone you have interviewed, everything must be accurate and correct. And you also don't leave out important information. So accuracy is one of the things we have to take note of while writing our news report. Attribution. Remember that writing a news story is not your opinion. What you're writing is not your opinion. So that's why we conduct a lot of interview. You have to attribute what has been said or what you are reporting to someone that you have interviewed. It can be an eyewitness during an event that you were covering. It can be a professional in that field who has like additional information, to give about an event that has happened. So through interviews, through vox pop, which is Also, a type of interview by attributing a source, an eyewitness that witnessed the event, is also important because it gives your story credibility and substance and make people believe that you are actually telling the truth. The next one is balance and fairness. Now, when reporting a story, because our stories are usually newsworthy, there are so many sides to the story. I don't even believe that there are just two sides to a particular story. There are several sides to a story. And for balance and fairness, it's important that you report the account of all parties involved in a particular incident. When you report just one side or you report just two sides and you leave other sides out of the story, then you're already being biased and you're not balanced. So when we talk about being balanced, we talk about fairness. It means that you want all the voices involved in the story to be heard. And remember, when you do this, it also creates some atmosphere of fairness and objectivity as a journalist. So, failure to tell the other side of a story at its best shows that you're lazy, shows that you're taking sides, or you're being biased about the story, which is not allowed for a journalist because we are seen as professionals in the field. Now, brevity has to do with presenting of your news story. Now, writing a news story is not the time for you to show off your vocabularies or that you have a bank of rich vocabularies. No, because remember, the media, most importantly, wants to inform, wants to educate. And when you make your news story very lengthy, the use of too many complex words, then you're not communicating. So we don't write to impress. We don't report news stories to impress. All we want to do is to ensure that we give the story as quickly as possible, giving the main points to our audience. So avoid too many adverbs and adjectives. Sometimes it's misleading. Ensure that you write in a way that the average person can understand your sentence structure and the words that you are using to convey the information. So make it as simple and straightforward as possible. Identification. It's important for you to identify the people you are writing about for clarity. Give full names, age, address where relevant. Remember, giving the address is not always necessary in all types of story. You only provide this information where necessary and relevant. But where you know it is relevant and important, please do not hesitate to provide such information. It also helps to give credibility to your story and put the story in perspective, depending on the type of news story it is. Clarification. Clear thinking is the bedrock of clear writing. A reporter must understand this sentence before he can write clearly on it. So clarity also extends to the way you sentence the way you structure your sentences. So embrace the use of simple and straightforward sentences. Avoid foreign words that you know that your readers might not be familiar with, and don't be too ambiguous when writing. By doing all this, you will ensure clarity and better understanding of your news report. Human interest. You should take note of stories that are of human interest, that will attract the attention of the public. And this is where you now bring such story to life for your audience. So that news point, identify the news point and play up in the story. That is, what is the main theme of that story? And that is what should inform the lead of your story, of your report, which is the first paragraph of the news story. So objectivity is presented here as a goal which every reporter must try to achieve. Make sure you present facts, just facts alone that you can verify, and leave your opinion out of your story. Now, verification. Sources will make claims that the reporter must verify from other sources in order to get the true facts. A political opponent might label another politician as an ex-convict. The reporter cannot go to press without checking the court or prison record. Verification is important as it is a recognition of the need for the truth. So it's not just about getting information about something or about someone or about a political party, but you must check to be certain that such information is correct. And not just checking, you must have documents to back up the fact that the information is correct or incorrect. Because sometimes when you interview people, they give you false information because they already have some form of bias. So it's not just enough for you to interview people and listen to what they have to say and their own side of the story. They might be giving you information, but they might not even be giving you the accurate information. So whatever information they give to you is important for you to verify before you report such story. All right, so news should usually address these questions. Now, we have talked about the rudiments of news writing. Now, to start writing a news story, they must usually address these questions, or most of these questions. They must ask the question, what? That is, what is happening? They must ask the question, why is this important thing happening? They must also try to answer the question, when did it happen? Now, the when definitely makes it current or makes it suitable to be news or not. Who are the people involved? How important, how significant are they? Where is it happening, and how exactly did it happen? Now, sometimes you might not necessarily answer all these questions in a certain news story. That's because some stories are building up. So there's a follow-up. There are some stories that, based on the nature of the story, it's a follow-up story. So it keeps going on until there are additional reports for that story to end. So sometimes the how might not even be answered, because the how something happened is not yet known. Investigation continues, but you must state that in your news report as well to help people understand that there's a follow-up to this story and the story is just unfolding as it goes. All right, so we have what we call the inverted pyramid, and that helps us to know how to structure a news story, that is, from what is most important to the least important. In our next class, we'll be talking about the importance of writing a news report using the inverted pyramid style and the different things expected for you to take note of in terms of writing from the first, second, third, fifth, sixth paragraph, as the case may be. So you have a few reading assignments here for you to have a better understanding of what we just discussed. Read and summarize the article titled "In the Service of Good Journalism and Audience Interest: How Audience Metrics Affect News Quality." Very, very good read. Students are to use their knowledge of determinants of news and the rudiments of news to identify any incidents in their environment this week. Okay, so you have learned about the rudiments and news determinants. Use this to identify something in your environment that you feel meets the criteria as news. Class focus next is for us to discuss the lead paragraph and the inverted pyramid in the previous slide. So that class will be coming up soon by next week. Thank you, and I hope you did understand everything that was taught.